Alright, next I'm doing some aluminum brazing. This is the water intake on this lower unit. Down here where you see that slot, and a stainless steel or aluminum sleeve screen goes in there along with a plug. Aluminum plug will get welded down in there. So this opening was all eaten away, and so what I've done is I stuck I had a nice piece of steel here that I was able to put into here. That's half inch hole. And while it's in there, because aluminum brazing does not stick to steel, it makes a good form. So I was able to build that up again and get a proper inlet for water again. That was all eaten away, and I was able to build that all back up again using brazing rods from Harbor Freight. So that's a piece of the leftover brazing rod right there. And I'm using MAP gas. So next I'm working on the other side of the cavitation plate. You remember that this only had one side, the other side had broken off, and so I've got a piece here in the vise that I'm working on. I've got it basically shaped. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to taper the edges of everywhere that it's going to be brazed. It gives you a better weld. So if you look at this now, it's pretty flat, and that's not a great surface to do the brazing on. So I'm going to taper all the edges on this, and I've already tapered the edges that it's going to be attached to here, so it's ready to weld. And then I'll put a couple clamps on it, make sure it's straight, get a couple braze spots on it, and then I can take my clamps off and finish brazing that on, and we will have a cavitation plate again. So while I'm tapering down the edges, I'm also feathering the edges here too. So you can see right here, I've got a line that I'm, getting all the curvatures and everything right. But, not only am I tapering these edges to get ready for brazing, but I'll also be shaping the outside, because this will be a lot easier to do now. So if you can see, that's a much more feathered edge. By working with it here in the vise now. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'll go ahead and get this curve shaped out here and then start working on the taper edge, because you don't want a blunt edge, the 1/8 inch. You want it to taper down more so like this, so it glides a little easier through the water. Well, here it is, complete, fit, ready to go. Everything is tapered. I'm just going to take a little bit of sandpaper and kind of soften the edges just a little bit. It's a little bit sharp on the edges, but all in all, that's pretty good piece. Let me show you where this is going to fit. All right, this is going to go right in here. So a little bit of brazing, and we'll be back in business. If you recall from earlier videos, I mentioned this water bypass area. So water enters from the whether you're in the ocean or the lake, comes in through here, filters through a screen, comes up through what we call the water bypass. When I got this engine, it did not have the cover plate for this. It had a mangled screen in here, and these holes here had been tapped out a few times. So I'm going to fill these holes with aluminum brazing rod, and then I'll re-drill and tap those because I did get a new water bypass plate, and it came with the stainless steel screws for that, so I want to make sure everything goes in correctly. So my next job is to actually go ahead and brace these holes shut before, and then I'll go to work on putting the cavitation plate on. Figured I might as well do this now while I got a little bit more room to maneuver, and then the last thing to braze on will be the cavitation plate. So.